What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another live stream. We've got an action-packed stream for you today. And first and foremost, we're going to be reviewing the January transfer window. The remit, as of what Paul O'Keefe said coming into this window, was a goalkeeper, a defender, a winger and a striker with versatility. Didn't mention anything about left-back, but I think the need for a centre-back just became more apparent for maybe even more as the window went on, with the ACL to Dragusin at the back end of the window, Romero having a setback, Van der Ven. We don't, particularly know what's going on with him, any official confirmation, but there are fears about another injury and another setback to Mickey Van der Ven. So I think, another centre-back probably would have been ideal. It was clear that they were looking for another centre-back with Disasi and Tomori and all those kind of news is coming through. But in terms of the remit coming into the window, it did seem like we did hit that, albeit we needed players to come in pretty much in the opening stages of the window. We got Kinsky done early, but Danso and Mathys Tel came in later. So, I mean, the business that we did do was Kinsky coming in for, what was it, about 15, 20 million? Around that
12
fee.
million, wasn't
12 million. Kevin Danso, 25 million euros, and Mathys Tel, that came in on a loan with an option to buy of around 55 million euros.
Rumours over 10 million.
Yeah,
loan fee,
I can't believe that's true. A 10 million loan fee for 6 months,
which is a very big price. Obviously, the reports were that Man United bought at a 5 million loan fee. Did we pay a bit extra so we could seal that option to buy in the contract potentially with Bayern? Is that why we paid a bit more? Might be true.
10 million sounds very hefty for 6 months.
It's very hefty, 100%. Well, which is in pounds terms, about £8.5 million.
Yeah, which is crazy money for 6 months.
Yeah, so it's a bit, especially with no guarantee that he will sign permanently. It's a big outlay, I would say. And I'm surprised. Yeah, I'm surprised if it's true that they've decided to agree to pay that. Obviously, 5 million would have also been fairly hefty in itself if we agreed to pay that.
Someone in the comments here saying it's 10 million including wages. So that makes a bit more sense.
Yeah, it makes sense. That probably makes sense. 5 million plus his wages, probably, yeah. Which is, if he's on 100 grand a week, yeah, it's probably about right.
Yeah, I guess so. But like, in terms of, if I asked you at the beginning of the window, if we're going to be sitting here 4th of February saying we've brought in a goalkeeper, which, we're very happy with what we've seen so far, Kevin Danso and Mathys Tel. And in terms of Mathys Tel, before the window, we would have been absolutely delighted to see him through the door. On the face of things, we would have been pretty happy with those 3 players, wouldn't we?
I think so. I think the need for a left-back was also obviously quite large, but now Spencer's emerged to be a real option in that position in recent weeks. He's done a really good job filling in for the injured Udogie in that position. So I think on the face of it, if we were just talking about how we've done in the window, I think we have done some good business in terms of profile fits. I think Danso, aggressive centre-back who can play in that high line, has good recovery pace, is decent on the ball as well. I think there are better centre-backs out there, but in terms of one we can get in January for a good price for who's a good fit, I think he fits the bill, and I think we've done well to get him through the door. Kinsky, a ball-playing goalkeeper who's really comfortable with the ball at his feet, and someone who's still very young and maybe, I'm not saying happy to be number 2 to Vicario, but obviously is happy to battle for his place at this point, and it doesn't have to be strict number 1, and also a really good profile fit for our system in terms of how we want to build up from the back and his passing ability. Yes, he's maybe not the best shot stopper and that needs to improve, but he's only 21 and he's good at coming for crosses, he's good at coming for set pieces. So looks like a good signing as well in the absence of Vicario. He's been pretty good. And then I think we all wanted a forward. I think, as you say, Paul O'Keefe's remit was kind of a versatile forward who can play up front, can play out wide, and that's kind of what I thought we needed. Someone who is pretty good at dribbling, who's got a really good eye for goal. The only concern I have for Tel is, first of all, it's another teenager, and second of all, creatively, I think we could have done with a more creative winger rather than someone similar to Son in a way. I know Son has upped his creativity in recent weeks, but similar to Son, where his big strengths are when he gets in front of goal and his shooting ability. And when he gets in the final third, he more looks to create angles to shoot rather than maybe set up his teammates, and can be maybe a bit selfish in that element. So obviously he's still 19, so that can all improve and that can all change. And I'm sure Ange will get that kind of side out of him. But from what we've seen of him so far at Bayern, he's not much of a creator. So that's a bit of a something to be wary of. But in terms of the true ability of a player, in terms of profile when it comes to his pace, his trickery, his overall ability and his positioning, it's a really great signing, and it's one to be very, very excited about. And the fact we got an option to buy in there as well, which means there is potential for that to be made into a long-term deal. It's one that is hard not to be excited about, with one of the most talked about talents in Europe. So I think he's also a really, really exciting signing. So I think on the face of it, we have done some really good business, and I think the club can be happy with the business they've done. But the reality is the fact that we waited until pretty much the end of the window to get Danso and Tel means that the whole of January we didn't have them, which also means that the damage in the league has been done. We've lost the likes of Everton, we've lost to Leicester in the league, which might not have happened if we'd had these signings through the door a lot earlier. Maybe the position in the league wouldn't have looked so precarious. Obviously, we did get the win on the weekend, which was crucial and probably staves off any fears of being dragged into a relegation battle anyway. But maybe we wouldn't have been so far off the top half, or even further than that if we'd got these signings earlier. So is what it is. But we've still got a lot of things to fight for this season, and they're going to be a massive help in the Europa League and in the Cups as well. But we've got a decision to make when it comes to that Europa League squad now, in terms of who gets left out, because if we want to we can only make 3 changes, and we've got kind of 4 new players for that squad.
Yeah, absolutely. But back on what you were saying about, getting the players in early and what it's kind of put us in this season. I mean, if we would have got those 6 points against Everton and Leicester, we'd be 10 points outside the top 4, 10 points away from Chelsea. And with the form that Chelsea are on, with the form that Newcastle are on, very up and down, with the form Man City are on, very up and down, it could have left us in an all right position to maybe bridge that gap second half of the season. And we actually might have had a realistic chance of making those European spots, where we don't really anymore.
Yeah, I agree. And that's the point. So unfortunately, when it comes to the league standings, the damage has been done, and we could have got Danso in for a few extra million earlier on. Yes, we got a better deal because we waited, but we could have pushed the button earlier and got him in probably earlier in the window, and maybe those performances against Leicester and Everton don't happen.
And it's so frustrating, isn't it? It's just like it's like a soap opera following Spurs in the transfer window, isn't it? You go for Kolo Muani, and then that's a long drawn out saga, and he ends up rejecting us, going to Juventus. Fair enough. Then you got Mathys Tel, a long drawn out saga. It looks like he's rejected us. He's gone back to Manchester United. He wanted to go there. That was what the rumours and Paul O'Keefe was saying, and he rejected us. And then Man U couldn't strike up a deal with Bayern Munich. Then he ends up in kind of amazing fashion just accepting us in the last hour to come to us. And then the Tomori thing, where it's a long drawn out saga in terms of rumours for 3 or 4 days, and then he ends up rejecting us. Just like every single story that was leaked to the press that looked like Spurs were going for it was just some sort of soap opera for Tottenham Hotspur. And this seems to be the case for like every transfer window that Spurs were involved in. And when you're looking at transfer windows, particularly January transfer windows over the course of the last few years, this one seemed to be one of the most important ones, because we were getting dragged into a relegation battle at times. Yeah, the Brentford game, the Brentford win kind of alleviated all those fears and stuff, but we were just dropping. And as much as I'm happy with the players that we've brought in, it just leaves a sour taste in my mouth how long it took all these signings to come through. Because you look at the Danso deal, Mathys Tel probably had to be done when it did get done, because he wasn't accepting us earlier on the window, because he was waiting for other options and other possibilities to come through. But when you're looking at the centre-back situation, when you're looking at Van de Ven being out pretty much for the last couple of months, Romero's been out for ages, it's just like you had to get a defender in the first week to kind of stop us dropping down the table with Archie Gray. Ben Davis was out as well, and we were literally relying on Archie Gray and Dragoshin. Dragoshin does his ACL. What game did he do his ACL in?
That was Elfsborg.
Elfsborg, right. So it was actually really late on, so you couldn't really do anything there. But we waited until Dragoshin got his ACL to actually panic in the window to to get a defender in when the need for it was a long time before that. So it just really frustrates me how we wait and we wait and we wait till we're in panic mode to get something in. When panic mode should have been in the 1st of January.
And that's what Ange was consistently saying. You know, we need players in. These players need help. He wasn't shy about saying it. He's saying these players are running on empty. They're knackered. They need help. And unfortunately, you know, we got them help, but we only got them help when at the end of the window, when the damage, I think, when it comes to our league campaign, has already been done. And as whatever happens in the league, look, we'll hopefully turn around our form and we can probably get into that top half maybe, but anything more than that is probably unrealistic at this point unless we literally win every game from now to the end of the season. And even if we do that, you know, we I don't know what kind of position we'll be in. So I think the league campaign, we can kiss it goodbye. If they were happy to sacrifice it for the sake of a few million, then so be it. They have to stand by their decisions. But then they can't turn around to Ange when he finishes maybe bottom half and say, you know, you should have been doing better, because he's been very, very clear about what he needed at the beginning of this window. And as much as obviously bottom half is not where we want to be, I think there are clearly extenuating circumstances for it, and we could have maybe made a better go of changing that situation earlier if we had acted quicker in the market, and we didn't. So the pressure is now on Ange to kind of win these cups, and the pressure is definitely on Ange and these signings to make an impact in those games. And it's going to be interesting because they might do well in the league, and I'm sure obviously we'll take notice of that, but if they don't do it in these, you know, cup competitions where it's knockout football and, you know, one unlucky game and you can go out, that's where he'll be judged, it seems, in the second half of the season, I think.
Yeah, I mean, everyone talks about, it takes long to negotiate for transfer. They should have been negotiating from December. They should have been negotiating going into the window. They should have known who the targets were going into the window and got them done in the first week, or at least the first 2 weeks of the January transfer window. It's just so frustrating that they didn't do that. And then you're looking at the last week of the window, right? Trying to get Tamori, trying to get Disassi, getting a 70 million bid for Guehi on the last day of the window. I mean, it just smacks of absolute desperation, doesn't it, in the last 2 days of the window?
Yeah, it didn't seem like a team with a clear plan of what they wanted and what they were going to get. In terms of it takes time to negotiate, it's true, but we clearly got the Danso deal done very, very quickly, and he was on his way to Wolves. And again, that's one we could have got over the line, I think, I'm certain, a lot quicker than we did.
When we want to act quickly, we act quickly. You know, when other teams are about to sign a player and we're like, oh, let's go and hijack that bid, we act quickly. So why can't we act quickly when, you know, we're the only ones in the running? You know what I mean?
Well, to be fair, some people, you know, there was a comment which is true, said we did try and act quick, but a lot of players were rejecting us. Like, you know, with Moani, I think we acted fairly quickly on that, and then he ended up rejecting us. But
there was no talk of any centre backs in the first 2 weeks of the window. It was all in the last kind of week or so.
Yeah, and that should have been done a lot quicker. Like, we would, you know, Gray was playing game after game, and to be fair, you know, doing a decent job, but clearly we needed help there. We clearly needed help there. Davis didn't come back until the Everton game, and, you know, that was his first game back, and obviously that was a complete shit show. It was obvious we needed players from the start. We didn't get them, and we paid the price for it. I think that's it. I mean, it has cost us, and whatever we want, we can be happy with the players. We brought in all these different things, but at the end of the day, we have paid the price for not getting these players in earlier, and we have to live with that. And hopefully we can have a really good second half of the season, and I'm excited to see these new signings get integrated, and I do think there are some good buys there, and I do think there's some really good potential, and I think they're really going to help this the squad really kind of try and achieve what they want to come the end of the season. So if we're sitting here at the end of the season, we've won a trophy and they've made a big impact, then they've done their job. But if we're sitting here at the end of the season and we haven't won any cups and we end up you know, bottom half in the table, then I think we also can say that it really cost us not moving quicker in the window.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, that's the moaning done, because I think this window brought negatives and positives. The positives are the players that we brought in. I'm very happy with the quality that we've brought in, because I think Kinsky is a very good keeper, a lot better in terms of what we had in terms of cover. Fraser Forster, he's a lot better than that. Brandon Austin, he's better than that. Alfie Whiteman, obviously, a lot better than him as well. So I think he's a goalkeeper that can challenge Vicario in the short term and the long term.
Yeah.
I think he's a goalkeeper that actually suits us a lot more than what Vicario does, in my opinion. I think Vicario is a better shot stopper and a leader in the group and what have you. But in terms of how good Kinsky is with his feet, I mean, that Liverpool game where he made his debut just blew us all away, didn't it? Just like,
Yeah.
I remember being there, sitting next to you in the stadium there, just watching it. Everyone was like, wow, he can pass the ball. It was just like, wow. Everyone was like, in shock of how good he actually was with his feet. I mean, he seemed like from that game he just could pick any player out on the pitch, wherever they were on the pitch.
Yeah, and obviously he ended up keeping a clean sheet as well, and it was just a brilliant day overall. And obviously he's put us in a good position to go to Anfield and try and get to that Carabao Cup final. So I do think Kinsky's been a real positive. However, obviously he's still a young keeper and he clearly still has deficiencies. He's not the finished article. Again, another player who has his kind of Europa League experience and things like that, but again, he's only really been playing top level football for a short amount of time. So it's not like he's coming in as the finished article and he's going to be, clearly he's already made mistakes against Arsenal. He should have saved that Trossard goal and maybe a few others you can say shot stopping. Look, I think by and large, apart from the Arsenal goal, it's been by and large okay, but he's still got some things to iron out, I think it's fair to say. And as much as I'm excited about him, I think for the age he is, he's clearly a very, very talented goalkeeper. He's still got a lot of learning to do. And it'll be interesting to see if he puts Vicario straight back in when he's back fit, or does he keep with Kinsky when Vicario is fully fit and 100%. But I think when it comes to looking for the long term, definitely he's an exciting keeper and can very much battle Vicario.
Yeah, look, I agree. He's got things to iron out, but for a 21-year-old keeper, he seems so far advanced for that age. Goalkeepers usually don't kind of get to what they are going to be maybe until about 26, 27, 28, you know? And at 21 years of age, I've been so impressed. I've been blown away with what I've seen. They're so strong and commanding from set pieces as well for such a young age. I mean, he looks more advanced in terms of commanding his box, coming for corners, and with his feet, much more advanced than Vicario.
Though from those aspects, yeah. But as well, I think goalkeepers, I think a lot of the time they earn their money keeping the ball at the back of the net, and I think Vicario is way ahead of him on that aspect. I think Vicario,
so he should be, though,
and Vicario is one of the best. Yeah, I know, but that's just the reality of the situation right now. So I am happy with the Kinsky signing. I think we've got a very good long term. Also means, if anything does happen with Vicario, if he ends up moving on, we've got Kinsky right there. So it's got good competition for places, which we haven't really had in that position for a while. So I'm delighted with that, and I think he's going to be a keeper here for a very long time. And it'll be interesting to see next season. I'm sure they'll rotate one in the Premier League, one it'll be interesting to see if we don't have European football next season, if one of them starts to get agitated, if one of them's number two. But I really like Kinsky, and I think he's got a really good head on his shoulders, and I think he's going to be a really good keeper for us for a while.
Yeah. Kevin Danso, a lot of pressure on Kevin Danso now. Now we didn't bring in that other centre-back. With the Van der Ven potential injury, Romero, we don't know when he's going to be back. He's had a setback. He's probably going to be the first one back out of the three. And Dragshin, with his season being ended with the ACL, really bad news with him. A lot of pressure on Kevin Danso to come in, hit the ground running and perform from the off. Yeah,
massive. And to be fair to him, obviously he's 26, he's an experienced player, he's played in the Champions League with Lens, he's played in Ligue 1 for a while. He actually's played in the Premier League as well, albeit it was a while ago and it didn't go amazingly well, but he also has Premier League experience. So I think with the situation we're in, with Gray playing every game, with Dragashin being injured, I think we're going to have to throw him in the deep end at this point. I think there was, obviously when we first signed him, and there was talk of Van der Ven being fit for Thursday. The question was, do we put Van der Ven is Danso going to be thrown in for his first game away in the Carabao Cup semi-final? Is it too much to throw him in straight away, kind of like that, like we did with Kinsky? And now with all the other news, I think the question is, who's he going to partner? Who's he playing with? And that's the reality with our centre-back situation. Unfortunately, thankfully, Ben Davies has come back and he's looking all right. And apart from the Everton game, I think he's come back and looked pretty good. So we need him in that kind of form if we're going to get anything at Anfield, especially if Van der Ven is definitely out. We'll wait to hear about that. But when it comes to Kevin Danso, what I like about him is, first of all, he's also got experience in big tournaments. He played at the Euros for Austria, and under Ralf Rangnick, who plays a really aggressive pressing system like we play. So I think the way we play is not going to be alien to him, which is really encouraging. Which means as well, hopefully that means when he starts, it's not going to be a baptism of fire, in a sense that it's going to be something that he's not used to, playing on the halfway line, being aggressive, being man-to-man, winning those individual duels. That's what he's been doing in the last season at Lens. That's what he's been doing at international level. So hopefully that means he's ready to come in and do that with Spurs. And I think I was really impressed with him at the Euros. He's a real brick, kind of strong, monstrous centre-back. I think he probably comes in and automatically is probably our best centre-back in the air, probably our strongest centre-back as well physically. In terms of on the ball, I still think he's a bit behind Romero, but in terms of how I compare him to like Dragoshin, I think he's much more comfortable on the ball than someone like Dragoshin is at getting the ball forward and making those passes, carrying the ball as well. I think he's confident at carrying it into space. So I think he's a really good stylistic fit. Not to say, when everyone's fit, is he going to be... Is he better than Romero and Van der Ven? I'm not 100% sold on that. But when it comes to upgrading the depth and having a centre-back who's ready to step in, who can fit the system, I'm much more comfortable with Danso there than I am with Dragoshin.
Yeah, he might even be some sort of a goal threat as well from the set pieces. I think definitely from defending set pieces, he'll be a massive asset to us. But the other way, scoring set pieces, sometimes Romero gets his head to a lot of the attacking set pieces and it's kind of hit or miss. But I think Danso, with how aggressive he is, how tall he is, how good he is in the air, like you say, best aerial threat that we have, I think he'll be a real threat from the attacking set pieces. And what we know about Danso, he's definitely good for a booking or two, and he'll definitely pick up his fair share. I mean, already picked up 3 bookings in 12 games this season. Last season he picked up 6 in 30, season before 7 in 37, and the season before he picked up 9 in 33 with 3 red cards over the course of 4 seasons as well. So he's definitely going to be picking up a few bookings here and there.
Yeah, I'm sure. And the way we play, we know how aggressive our centre-backs can be. So he's going to be making a lot of tactical fouls. He's going to be playing in the opposition half a lot. But he's comfortable doing that. And that's, I think, a part of the reason why we've gone for him and why we gazumped Wolves to get him through the door. So I think Wolves maybe wanted him because of his time playing at 3 at the back. Last season with Lens, they were playing 3 at the back and he was the central centre-back. So he's also used to that. But in the last 6 months and also at international level, he's definitely been playing more how we like to play our defenders. So he's kind of used to both.
And, everyone kind of uses it as a bit of something to clown on, saying, we're going for the same targets as Wolves and we've hijacked Wolves' bid. How good can he actually be? Well, actually, Juventus wanted him. Juventus wanted him before Wolves went for him, but Juventus just couldn't afford the deal that they were offering at the time. I think they were looking at a deal for like 30 million euros. He ended up coming to us for 25, but, he was a player that Juventus wanted and Juventus scouted and said that he's the guy for us, but they just couldn't get a deal over the line.
I mean, Wolves got, I think, Cunha signed for Wolves in January, I think, a couple of years ago. Ait Nouri, they scouted him. He's a pretty good player. João Gomez, a lot of people would like him as well. So there's a lot of talent in all these Premier League teams. And just because Wolves scouted him and wanted him doesn't mean he's not good enough for us as well. And I think it's good. I think it's going to turn out to be a good signing. I think you'll see once he's on the pitch, he's a good centre back, and I think he'll do a really good job for us. And yes, do I believe he's good enough? Let's say we sell Romero. Is he good enough to be our first choice centre back and step up like like that for a long term, or are we going to have to sign another one? I'd say I'm not sold that he's good enough to be our first choice, but is he good enough to be someone stepping in and being our third choice? I think so. I don't see any reason why not.
And Mathys Tel was probably the most impressive of the lot. Got him done on transfer deadline day. I was really surprised. I mean, I did kind of say the night before, is there any chance of a U-turn from Tel? But also, the reason that it surprised me a lot is because Ange has been very clear of saying, if you don't want to come just to play for Tottenham, I don't really want you. And he did reject us 24 hours or 48 hours before we got the deal over the line. So I guess it was just a sign of we just had to get someone in. And he is a player of supreme talent, 19 years of age, turning 20 in a couple of months' time. But from that aspect, are you surprised that we still went for him because of what Ange is usually like with transfers?
Well, beggars can't be choosers, I think, at this point. Am I surprised? Look, at the end of the day, he agreed. For whatever reason, he's not coming here because he wants to play Champions League football. He's coming here because he wants to play. And yes, originally, I think it's more to do with the fact that it was a permanent deal. He didn't want to commit 5 years of his future here, when maybe there are some other offers on the table, and also the mess that Tottenham are currently in. But at the end of the day, Man United balked at paying that loan fee. Arsenal didn't seem actually as interested as has been reported. You know, some journalists saying they're pulling out all the stops to get him in, and clearly that wasn't true. So we're the ones that were showing willingness to bring him in. We're the ones that showed that we really wanted him and we're serious about bringing him to this football club, and we've got a plan for him. So maybe he saw that and thought, actually, you know, that actually means something, and I shouldn't just dismiss it just because of their league position, or, you know, Harry Kane's telling me whatever about the club, or Eric Dyer saying, you know, you don't want to anchor yourself to that club right now. I don't know what they've been saying, but I think he probably thought when deadline day came around, these clubs aren't serious about me. There is only one club that is, and I'm better off going there. And if they're showing trust in me, I should show trust in them, and I should give it a go for at least 6 months. And if it doesn't work out, at least I've had 6 months developing myself and playing football. Whereas at Bayern Munich at the moment, I think this season his minutes have been extremely limited for one reason or another. Maybe he's still a raw talent, maybe he still needs to improve in a lot of different aspects, but hopefully at Tottenham we can really help develop him. And if it all works out, if he really develops into the player we're hoping he is, and we help him do that, maybe he'll think, I want to stick around here. But I still think that there's something telling me, pardon the pun, but there's something telling me that right now we're still a long way from actually having him here permanently, as much as we do have an option to buy. I feel like he, in his mind, is thinking, I want to go back to Bayern after this season is done. But I think, you know, 5 months or 6 months is a long time in football. A lot can change, and if he smashes it out, if he's really happy here, he's here with his mate Odebear, and, you know, he's really a big part of the team and he feels important, maybe he will want to stick around. And maybe he feels like, I can just be here for a few years and Bayern will still be there when I'm 24 or whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think, like, on the face things, I want to get to the European squad in a sec, but on the face things, 3 transfers in, good quality in, just very frustrating that we had to leave it this late to get the attacking target and centre back in. So all things considered.
But other clubs, you know, Man United, if you look at the window they had, struggled. Arsenal, I think I've just seen a quote from Arteta saying whether we had a lot of kind of targets this window, and it's very disappointing that we weren't able to pull what we wanted off. And that's, you know, a team with a lot more ambition and higher up on the table than us, really struggling to get players in. So it's never easy in January. We've all known that. Obviously, we're in a more desperate situation maybe than some of those other clubs. But apart from maybe Villa and City, you know, it's been a fairly quiet window for most other clubs.
Yeah, it has been. And look, I give credit for the players that have come in, because like I say, I like the quality that has come into the club in this January transfer window. But with the situation we were in, with the situation we knew we were in a long time before the transfer window opened, we were in desperate measures. We were out on our feet. The players were knackered coming into the January transfer window, right? So we had to do stuff early. We didn't. We only got the keeper in early. And yes, the keeper's made an impact. But with the business that we've done, like you said earlier in the stream, we've pretty much just given up the league campaign because of it. And it's not good enough, in my opinion. And that's why I'm going to give the transfer window a low rating. As much as I like the business that has happened, I still think we need another centre-back. When you're looking at, even with Danso, we're still light at centre-back right now. So I still think it's a low score in terms of the transfer window because of it. So, yeah, look, there's positives and negatives to take. I think I'll give it a 5 out of 10 in my opinion.
I think a lot depends on if the Van der Ven news is true. If it is true and if his injury is anything serious, I'll probably give it a 4, because if we knew that and we just had to get a body and we failed to do that, and he's actually got an injury, then we really are in a bit of trouble again at centre back. If the Van der Ven is not true, or it's not a very serious injury, I'll probably give it a 5 out of 10 as well, just because we've sacrificed our league campaign and league performances and results for getting a few million off, and that is very frustrating, and it's something that we've seen many a time. But to give credit where credit's due, the signings I am excited about, and I do think the players we've got in through the door are good players. They will hopefully help us from now to the end of the season. It's just frustrating that, you know, we've pretty much given up a whole league campaign for that. So a lot of these games is going to feel like a waste of time, to be honest, a lot of these league games. But let's just hope we can build some momentum in the league, maybe going into next season, and let's hope these cup competitions can bring some glory.
Yeah, it's a big week ahead, obviously, because if we do go out the cup, both cups in this next week, then, you know, they're really going to be looking at these early parts of the window being like, why didn't you get something in earlier?
Yeah, and all eggs on the Europa League basket. As long as we can keep our eggs in some of the other baskets, I think we've got a lot to fight for. But if we go out of both these cup competitions in this week, then obviously that'll be a massive blow to our season. But if we can at least get through in one of them, you know, all of a sudden you've got the Europa League and maybe a domestic cup still to fight for, and it could still be an unbelievable season.
Yeah, so the last thing to really discuss on the transfer window is this European squad moving into the next rounds, last 16 in March. We can only make 3 changes. That's the rules. We can only make 3 changes. So we've got 4 players that we need to add in: Kinsky, Spence, Tel, and Danso. What do you think we do? Like, surely Kinsky, and the easy one to think about is Kinsky just misses out.
I think the reality is there's probably no good options here. Whoever you pick, you're probably upsetting someone, or you're leaving out a good player. So that is probably the first thing to say, and it's very frustrating that we're in that position. But obviously the players that will have to come out are Dragoshin, Forster, and I'm not sure if Lancashire counts, but maybe Lancashire. But I guess the only other one would be Werner. Would be the only other one. So if Lancashire counts to Lancashire, if it's not, then it'll have to be Timo to come out. So I think Tel has to be in there. That's a definite. I think Danso has to be in there. That's a definite. So the choice is basically Kinsky or Spence. That's the choice we have to make, I think, when it comes to the Europa League squad. I think Danso and Tel are just no-brainers at this point. Tel's coming
in the B list.
So, but what does that mean if he gets left out the B list? Can we put someone else on the B list or not?
I don't think any of the players that we bought qualify for the B list.
How do you qualify for the B list?
Don't you have to be at the club a certain amount of years for the B list?
We had a 23-man squad instead of 25. It's possible to add all 4. It's not possible to add all 4. So what you're saying, Werner has to be Werner, you're saying?
I think so.
Or is it an age thing?
A player may be registered on the B list if he is born before a certain date since his 15th birthday, been eligible to play for the club. So none of the players we signed are of that.
So it has to be Timo who gets left out for Tel. Unless it's Odebear, because his injury is that bad that
we are hearing Odebear is going to be back though in the next few weeks.
But he's had a serious injury, so he might not be ready. He might not be fully fit till March, April. Who knows? Whereas Werner, his injury is not as bad.
But March is when the Europa League comes back around.
Yeah, but apparently he's back in training February. But maybe, I don't know. It might be Odebear is what I'm saying, because he had quite a serious injury. He had surgery, and maybe we feel like we don't want to. He might not be at his best maybe until after March potentially. So
even if he's available after March, that means from the quarterfinal onwards he'll be available. So I think Odebear has to be in it.
Not necessarily. I think it's between him and Werner. Obviously, who we leave out, who we don't. I can't see anyone else really, because everyone else is pretty important to the team. So I think everyone else kind of has to be in the squad. So is it Kinsky or is it Spence? Is the choice? I think
it's got to be Spence. It has to be Spence. With him showing how valuable he is for the team, with Vicario coming back. I mean, it has to be Spence. And also, on top of that, with Brandon Austin showing that he can be an option as a backup of quite a good level. I mean, it has to be Spence.
The only issue is, has Kinsky come in with assurances that he'll play European games as part of it, like when he came in? Because obviously we know that he's come in, and the whole big thing is he's coming to play. He hasn't come to play, second fiddle. He's come to be a part of the team, and obviously he's come in and done quite well. And as part of, like, I don't know, I'm not sure if there's an agreement in the contract or anything, but when Ange like sat him down and convinced him to come, or Lange or something, was part of that convincing, saying, look, you'll come in, you're going to play the Europa League games, and Vicario is still going to be our number one. And if so, would leaving him out cause any problems there in terms of leaving out? But maybe he can play some of the Prem games instead of European games, and Vicario is our number one in Europe potentially. Maybe, especially with our league campaign, not really mattering that much this season. Maybe we can feel like we can tell Kinsky, look, we told you were going to play in Europe. Unfortunately, given the circumstances, we are going to leave you out, but we're going to play you in the Prem. Do you think that's a situation?
I don't even know if we told him he was going to play in Europe, because when he came here, he wasn't even he can't even play in Europe because he wasn't in the squad.
Yeah, but we probably told him when it comes back, you'll be our European.
We don't
keeper.
know that. That's just like, you know what I mean. You're just assuming that. I don't think
I think he came because he wanted to play.
Yeah, but this is his first season. He's here as a long-term. He's 21. He's here as a long-term goalkeeper. I don't think he came with assurances to play straight away. We're saying he was
going to play straight away.
Exactly. You knew you were going to come straight away because of the injuries, but I think he was on the full assumption that when Vicario comes back, he's our number one goalkeeper. I don't think he's come with any kind of, to play when Vicario's back. I think...
Well, if he keeps his place, he keeps his place.
Yeah, that's true, but that's on merit. It's not just because you've come here to play, right?
Right, and on merit, has he not earned starts based off how he's played? I guess
yes, he has, but on the face of things, Vicario's still our number one keeper, and with the situation that we are in with the squad and with the holes that we've got in defence, we need to bring Jed Spence in. So I think if you explain that to him, I think he'll understand that. Yeah, completely, being a 21-year-old goalkeeper.
I get you, but I think he's also not going to be happy sitting on the bench for the rest of the season.
Yeah, so if he's not happy, he's not happy, but I think he'll see the bigger picture.
And my point is, I think you'll have to play him in the Prem games.
So if he plays the Prem games, he plays the Prem game. That's fair enough, but I still think that he'll understand the situation in terms of being left out the European squad.
I think he's going to have to, because we need Spence. That's the reality. Spence has been great. He's deserved his chance. I know Doggy's going to be back by the time the Europe comes back around, but Spence has deserved his earning his place in the squad. And the reality is Austin's come in and done well anyway. So looks like we have a good backup keeper there. If Vicario, when Vicario comes back without Kinsky, so I think. I reckon, I know I'm just positing, I do think they probably told Kinsky when he first came he'll be given some of the European games. So I think it'll be a bit disappointing to him to be left out. But if they kind of tell him, you can have the kind of Prem games, or some of you'll be starting some games in the Prem, and we don't leave him out in the cold, I'm sure that's a situation he can be all right with. So I think that's what we got to do. We got Spence, Danso, and Tel, bring them in, and unfortunately Kinsky will be left out.
I don't even think they told him that he's going to get the European games. I think they told him, look, you're going to come, you're going to play straight away because of Vicario's injury and because of the situation we're in right now. And then after that, you're going to be fighting for your spot, and Vicario will be number one, and you'll be fighting for your spot, and it'll be up to you to earn your spot. Vicario hasn't done anything to kind of say that Kinsky's better than him right now. Vicario is in the leadership group. He's got big stature within this squad. And he's got a big future ahead of him here, Kinsky. I don't think he's under any illusions where in the pecking order and where he's at in the squad right now.
I've no doubt, but he's obviously left his position starting for, Slavia Prague. Obviously, Tottenham's a bigger team, but I'm pretty sure he wouldn't have come if he was... he's not going to come if he's being told he's going to sit on the bench. Obviously, he knows he's going to be playing for the first month or two, but I'm sure the club told him, look, you'll come and you're going to get game time. We're going to give you... We're going to play you. You're not just going to come here and sit on the bench. You're going to play. And I know when Vicario comes, he's still our number one, but we'll probably give you some game time either in Europe. Obviously, I reckon they probably told him in Europe, but I think... with the situation that we are in, obviously when we signed him, it was a different situation maybe, and it's now changed. So I think the situation has to be malleable, but I think
it was immediate game time because of the situation we're in.
I think we're going to have to play him, I reckon, in some Prem games. I
think the way we should manage it is play him in the Prem games leading up to Europa games, and play him in the Cup games as well.
Yeah, like Cup games, yeah.
So I think that's more than enough game time for a 21-year-old keeper coming from Czech Republic.
Yeah, but you got to remember it's a 21 keeper who's starting week in, week out, and he was playing Europa League football, and he was making a name for himself. So he doesn't want to come here and sit on the bench. I think, and that's why I think he agreed to come, because he had those assurances he wasn't just going to be sitting on the bench. I think.
Yeah, maybe, but also when you get into the business end of the season, you want your your biggest in stature players, particularly your leaders, to play, and Vicario's that of Spurs.
Yeah, that's also true.
So, look, that's the situation of the transfer window. I'm happy. I'm also not happy. I'm happy with the players come in. I still think we didn't do enough at centre back, but the timing was just horrific in terms of the transfers coming in. So, in terms of the way we managed the transfer window, I think it's a pretty much another shit show, to be honest.
Well, in terms of how we planned for it, doesn't seem to be great planning yet again. It seems to be kind of going from one thing to the other, kind of waiting for opportunities and not being strategic. And that's just how we've always looked. So we've always approached the January window. Even when we've done well with like Decky and Bentancur, again, seem just to be opportunities.
Scrambling around at the end.
Yeah. That's Tottenham for you. But we did get over the line, some good signings when other clubs didn't. So it's never easy.
Look, we'll see. We can all judge it right here, right now, but we don't actually know what it looks like until the end of the season, until it's all said and done, and how much of an impact these players have. So we can judge it properly at the end of the season, but that's just our current feelings on it right now. On the 4th of February as the window shut last night. So that is our review of the transfer window. Let us know your scores out of 10 of how you're rating the transfer window in the comments section below, people. Let's get into a couple of super chats that have come through. First up is
Dark Sun
Evan.
G. I think I was yesterday.
Was that yesterday? Well, we'll read it again anyway, just because it's a very nice one. I'm so sorry to hear the news about your Gramps. May he rest in peace. Just to say, I love to see 2 signings in the final 3 days of the window. Dark Sun G saying, Man U got weaker, Rashford, Anthony out, and Lissandro got an ACL.
Yeah,
and I think when you're looking at particularly Man United and Arsenal's business, they got to be really disappointed with what they've both done in this window. And I think when you're looking at all said and done business, Spurs, Villa, and Man United and Man City are probably the happiest of the lot.
Yeah, because they got players in who are going to probably affect their first team. Whereas,
Man City spent more in this transfer window than the whole Premier League combined. It's actually nuts.
And that's we saw the run they were on. They're not used to being on that kind of run of form, so something had to give. We know they got money to burn, so it's not a massive surprise, is it? We kind of had the feeling that after they were on all those losses in a row, they were going to probably do something big in the window.
And Dark Sun G again says, this month, all our injuries besides Radu return. It's a good point. We do have a lot of players returning in this current month. So we've got big games. It's a shame that they're not returning a bit sooner because of this next week that we've got. And it looks like none of them will probably return before the Villa game.
Yeah.
So we got 2 massive games in the space of a week, less than a week. And we got to somehow muster up some sort of energy levels and some sort of performance levels in these next 2 games.
Yep. It's the reality, unfortunately. Well, obviously it remains to be seen about Van de Ven. We'll have to wait and hear what was happening with him. Obviously Romero says he's a slow healer. We'll have to wait and see what's happening with them. But everyone else, I think, are scheduled for just after the Villa game when we got a bit of a break.
Yeah. But let's move on and let's look particularly at Mathys Tel. We did a data video yesterday on Kevin Danso, and we're going to be looking at Tel today. I just want to bring up a couple of quotes that I've seen. So they were asking him on the plane on the way here about Harry Kane, and did Harry Kane tell him anything about Spurs? And he said, he told me this is a big club with a lot of very good people. The pitch is nice, the training centre is very good, and if you go there, you can enjoy it. Everything was very positive from Harry Kane. Didn't say anything. He just said the training ground is nice and the stadium is nice.
Not the players, not the trophy cabinet.
He says you'll go there, you'll enjoy the facilities. That's about it.
What an incredible training ground they have. That's what I was going on about. Obviously, he did kind of was under Ange for a bit, wasn't he, Kane? Only
pre-season?
Yeah, a bit of pre-season. I think
pre-season.
I think he only played 1 game, just that Shakhtar game, if I remember rightly.
He scored 2 goals,
because
3 goals.
There was the was the Euros, so he came back late anyway. And then he had that Shakhtar game, scored 4 goals. So I don't know how much we actually saw Ange, but obviously I'm sure he would have told Tel what he knows. But yeah, I mean, that's all he's got nice to say, is he? And he'll maybe mention Sonny. He's like, you got to play with Sonny. Go on, you got to.
And Tel also said that he spoke to Odebear, and Odebear told him, "Look, you have to come, you have to come.
You must."
And we know them two are good buddies from the youth ranks at international level. So Agent Wilson doing his best job for the club. And Jamie Redknapp actually spoke about him as well, because Jamie got in contact with Kane, and he said, I messaged Kane earlier about Tel, and he said he's a great guy, wants to work, good trainer, good finisher. He said he's got a lot of potential. So... yeah, it's good. With Tel, right, with a lot of the teenagers, we've been like kind of easing them in. You know, Archie Gray got eased in, Bergvall got eased in, Odebear.
Well, Odebear started.
Yeah, that's
straight
right.
away.
Odebear actually started the first 2 games straight away, but we don't know what it would have looked like over the course of a season because, you know, he got injured quite early on. So Odebear actually did get significant game time from the start. But Tel does seem to be that much further along than these kind of players.
Well, he's had 60 games for Bayern under his belt.
Yeah.
I know not all starts, but that's, you know, that's a lot of games for a top club. So this guy, who's probably a lot of them has been in the Champions League. I don't know if he played any minutes against Arsenal last season in like the latter stages, or Real Madrid when they got to latter stages. But he's been on the big occasion. He's scored goals in the Champions League. He's played big games for Bayern. So this is not a kid coming here new to kind of this kind of level. He's used to it. He's played a lot of games at this level. So I agree. I think he comes in a different stage to all those players that we've mentioned.
And in terms of the impact he had for Bayern Munich in his first season, 22-23, 22 appearances, 5 goals, 23-24, 30 appearances, 7 goals, 5 assists, and mainly from the bench. I mean, that's really impressive return. Albeit, you got to think, like, Bayern Munich obviously are very dominant in that league, but that is the year that they didn't win it. And, you know, Leverkusen won the league, but they did still finish second, and they still had, you know, beat a lot of teams that year. So, I mean, coming off the bench and making that sort of impact, yeah, I know you got to say that Bayern are very dominant and they do beat most teams that they play, but still impressive. But this year...
He's still 18 doing it. You know,
18 doing that. But this year, you know, he's really struggled for any sort of games or impact, and I think his performance level hasn't been as good as maybe the previous 2 years. Only 8 appearances and only 1 assist in there. Yeah,
which is disappointing. How many? Does it say how many starts he's had? Or
no,
doesn't say. Which is disappointing for him, and clearly that's why he wants to move. I don't know whether his performances is something psychological in terms of, is he being frustrated with the level of game time, and that's why when he's on the pitch he's not happy and he's not giving his best, or he doesn't feel like he can give his best. Is he lacking rhythm?
I think only one start in the league.
It's only 1 start. So I think, look, Kompany has obviously preferred the other attackers for one reason or another, and that's deeply frustrated Tel, and that's why he's been desperate to, or he wanted to get out in January and get some playing time. So I think he's shown what he's capable of. He's shown the ability he does have, but he is also quite a raw talent in that sense, and he's still not the finished article by any stretch. He's still a teenager, in all honesty. So as much as he's a serious talent and has a lot of games behind him, and I'm sure can provide impact, don't expect him to be a world-class player just yet, because I think he's not quite at that level yet.
Yeah, Kompany rarely used him as a striker, mainly used him as a left winger, right? And the left wingers that he's been using ahead of him is either Kingsley Coman or Serge Gnabry. And obviously they're season pros and season winners.
Yeah, top players. So it's tough to get in ahead of those players for sure. And also Sane, and I know last season anyway, Sane was playing on the left quite a bit under Tuchel. So this is, you know, you're talking about Bayern Munich, they've got some of the best attackers in world football, a collection of attackers. So, and when you're talking about can he get in up front, you got Harry Kane there, so he's never going to play up front when Kane's fit. So it's always going to be difficult for a teenager to kind of get in there, albeit Musiala was obviously, I don't know if he's still a teenager, but he's been playing very regularly for Bayern for many years.
Yeah, I mean, he's been used as a number 10 this season, Musiala, and he's 21, so he's got a couple of years on Tel.
Yeah, so I think it's fair to say, just because you don't make it a top club, even though he's played, he's shown what he can do, you know, you shouldn't write you off at all. because how many times have we seen players at that age, move on for game time and become unbelievable players? It's happened many, many times.
This is actually a good point here from Dark Sanji. He says that where is it? Odebear and Tel both went from Company to Ange this season.
That's a good point. It's a good point.
Odebear from Burnley and Tel from Bayern Munich, which is interesting. It's just one of those coincidences.
The winger killer, maybe.
But yeah, I think it's a bit unfair to say that Tel hasn't made it at Bayern Munich just because he's still 19 years of age, and actually as a 19-year-old, 18-year-old, 17-year-ld, the impact that he had and the minutes that he had is actually quite impressive.
Yeah, I think maybe he hasn't made it isn't fair, but I'm just saying. Even if you can say like it hasn't worked out or whatever, I think we've seen it so many occasions that there are talented players at top clubs for one reason or another. The top club let them go because they want game time or whatever because they got top players, and they go on to become unbelievable. One example, look at Cole Palmer. At Man City not quite make the grade, but he wanted to move on because he wanted regular game time. Albeit when he did play for City, he was quite good. And look at him now, just absolutely flying. And could he make that sort of impact? I wouldn't expect it, but wouldn't rule it out either. Yeah,
there's loads of players that you can look at. You can look at Kevin De Bruyne, you can look at Mohamed Salah, you can look at all these players.
Yeah, exactly. They're at a very young age. They have a big opportunity. It doesn't quite work out, and then they go for regular game time and they show what they can do. And that's what I think Tel's going to bank himself to do.
Absolutely. So let's go and look at the numbers behind Mathys Tel at Bayern Munich and see what the data shows us.
So I created this kind of graph which is split into 4 categories. You've got kind of in the grey you've got his like dribbling ability and possession ability. In the blue is kind of like passing and creativity. In the green on the left you can say shooting ability and how clinical he is, and in the orange / yellow you've got like defending, how good he is, how much he presses and stuff like that. So as you can see quite clearly, his biggest strength on the ball, taking people on, dribbling ability. That's where this is last season, by the way. This is because he doesn't have enough minutes this season to have stats on. So this is how he profiled last season, mainly playing off the left-hand side. And as you can see, unbelievable kind of stats when it comes to dribbling ability. His successful take-ons, his take-on percentage as well is in the 94th percentile. So in terms of his ability to take people on, it's one of the highest in Europe. His touches in the final third in the penalty are really high up, so he gets in really good positions. What's quite interesting is his shot creating actions are fairly low, 65th percentile, but his shot creating actions from take-ons are in the 96th percentile. So that goes to show that he does create really good opportunities from his dribbling ability. Carries as well, he's quite good at carrying the ball into the penalty area and carrying the ball forward as well. Obviously, clearly a big strength here on the left-hand side is shooting. Goals and assists, how many shots and shots on target he gets per game. What's quite disappointing and interesting to see is his XG is quite low. His XG per shot is actually in the 38th percentile, which means he's taking shots from bad areas. And maybe he should be taking shots from better positions. That also goes to what I've been saying in terms of he's a bit selfish. He maybe takes shots somewhere there are players in better positions, and maybe he should be finding those players. And that also plays into what you can see on the bottom right here, which is creatively, that's one of clearly his weaker areas. Where he's strong at, it looks like, his crosses into the box, and the amount of passes into the box are fairly high. But his key passes is really low. Progressive passes is low. Shot creating actions is a bit above average. His expected assists are only above average. It's a bit average. So he definitely needs to work on his creativity and working on creating chances for his teammates. I think that's something he needs to work on. Defensively, is a bit of a mixed bag. What you can see is his amount of tackles he makes in the attacking third is really high. So he's quite a good, maybe a good presser. But in terms of the amount of tackles interceptions he makes in general, fairly low. Shot creating actions from defensive actions is really low as well. So he's not great at turning the ball over and making something of it at the moment. But Clearly, the amount of tackles he making the attacking third there, 88th percentile, so that's something to work with. And I've heard he's quite a good presser. That's what in the research I've done. He's quite a hard worker. So I think there's a lot to work with there. There's a lot of potential, but clearly there's a lot of stuff to work on as well.
Yeah, and there would be for a 19-year-old player, obviously, that hasn't made an international appearance in terms for his country. He's only been playing for the youth level, right? Same with Wilson Odebear. So I think there's always going to be a work in progress there. But when you're looking at him and the stats you just read out in terms of stylistically and what Ange Postecoglou wants, particularly from a winger, like compare him to Brennan Johnson, for example. I mean, he fits the system what Ange Postecoglou wants from a winger a lot more than someone like Brennan Johnson, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I think he's got a lot more talent to work with. And when you've got that dribbling ability, yes, he maybe is a bit more selfish and can work on getting with his teammate, combining with his teammates more and creating chances. But as a 19-year-old, that can clearly be worked on and that could be coached. And I think that will happen given time. I think Ange will drum that into him. Maybe as a 19-year-old, when you've got all that talent ahead of you, the likes of Coman, the likes of Gnabry and people like that, Sane, maybe it's a case of when he's on the pitch, he just feels like he has to be the one to score, like he has to prove himself, and maybe that's led to some selfish tendencies from him because he feels like he has to show that he's as good as those players. And maybe
he will have Son ahead of him.
He's going to have Son, but look, if he's been guaranteed game time, hopefully, if he's got those assurances he'll play and he's on the pitch, whether that be on the right, whether it be on the left, hopefully that leads to kind of a play style that he doesn't have to always go for goal. He can go for assist, knowing that even if it doesn't come off or he's not scored in a game, he'll still be playing the next game.
Look, having said all that, right, in terms of the winger and Son will be ahead of him, blah blah blah. Like Florian Plettenberg, Sky Germany, saying that his strongest position is up front, is the number 9. And with Dom Solanke out till March, and we've only got really Richarlison, and we do have Dane Scarlett now back as well. You would think the majority of his minutes, particularly early on in the next couple of weeks, will be at the number 9.
Yeah, well, I mean, we know Richarlison's there, but we know he can't rely on his fitness at the moment to stay fit. So, and he's quite good aerially. I don't know how tall he is, but he actually just scored quite a few headers for Bayern, and he's actually got a really good leap. He's quite good athletically. So, I don't think maybe he has the hold-up play yet, or that kind of stuff that like Solanke or maybe even Rishi does. But he actually, you can whip the ball in and he can win balls in the air. He is actually quite good at scoring headers.
He's 6 foot.
Okay, so he's quite tall. So, I think because he's 19, he's maybe not physically the strongest, but I think for a 19-year-old, he's really strong. So I think as a 9, I think he can definitely be good for us as well. So it'll be interesting to see the thing is probably when we first went in for him, maybe Sonny wasn't in the best of form, and now he's in really good form. So it's going to be tough to leave Sonny out. I wouldn't be surprised though if we see Tel on the right as well a lot, because I think we want to give Decky a break. If not a break, first of all a break, but also want to put him back in the centre. And we've had to play him on the right a lot. And I know it's maybe Tel's least favourite position, but he has played there before. So maybe when it comes to this guaranteed play time, I think one of those positions might be on the right-hand side as well. Because that's clearly a space where there is a space in the team. Yeah,
I do think he'll be deployed across all the front three, but it's just a shame if we have to play him predominantly on the right, because that's probably the weakest out of the three where he is.
His positions, yeah. Probably. But
a bit like Mikey Moore, right? Like, we prefer to see him on the left, but we're seeing him a lot on the right at the moment.
Yeah. Seems like everyone, except for Brendan, he's the only natural right winger we have, with everyone else, kind of just filling in there.
Yeah.
But maybe he could do a better job than some of the others, like better job than Decky and Moore on that right hand side.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I hope so. I've never actually seen him off the right. I've only seen him off the left or up front.
I've seen some clips of him on the right. He seems like he can do a job there potentially, and maybe it could stop him shooting so much, because off the right it's not the best angle for a guy who cuts inside and shoots. It's more for setting up teammates, so maybe that's something he can work on.
Yeah, but he's definitely a player that will commit defenders, he'll run at defenders, and he'll cause them problems all day long with his speed and his trickery. So I'm very much looking forward to that. I feel like he's definitely a bums off seat player that's going to be adored by the fans.
Yeah. Let's see how he compares to some of our wingers that we currently have. So we've got him. This is last season's Tel compared to how Sonny's been this season. It's quite interesting. Again, you can caveat this because When it comes to the data, obviously Tel is was playing more against like tired legs, and he was playing more in latter stages of games and things like that, whereas Son's a different case. But what you can see when it comes to the stats is that dribbling and things like that, Tel is way ahead of Sonny. He beats him in most kind of facets. What Sonny is way ahead of Tel is that bottom right, that creativity, that chance creation for teammates and things like that. Sonny seems to be much better at creating chances and key passes and things like that than Tel. Defensively, it's quite interesting. They're quite similar, but Tel seems to make more tackles and definitely performs a bit better defensively than Sonny. And then when it comes to shooting, they're quite even. In fact, Tel gets off more shots than Son does, but Son seems to be more clinical than Tel, which is not a massive surprise. We know how clinical Son is. Tel has a higher XG, but Son's XG per shot, which means Son's taking shots from better areas, I think. So that's quite interesting. Shot creating actions, Tel's way higher as well. So I think it goes to show, again, Tel's going to bring something different to what Sonny brings. Son, this season anyway, has been a much more creative force than Tel, but Tel's much better dribbler, much more likely to take people on and be successful than Sonny is. So definitely brings something different to the team than what Son does.
Yeah, and I think that's what we're looking for, though. We're looking for something different. We're looking for someone that can take on a man. We're looking for someone that can just consistently be a threat down that side. Just go again, go again, go again. Someone with fresh exuberance that really knows how to commit his defenders. And I think that's exactly what he's going to bring. And I think Sonny has actually done that over the last couple of weeks. You know, he's found some sort of new sense of energy, Sonny, over the last couple. Like against Elfsborg, right, in that first half. That's exactly what we saw and what we want from our left winger to do. But he hasn't really been doing that all season. But I think that's what Tel's going to bring on a consistent basis.
Let's see if he compares to Brennan on this chart. So what you can see here is very much when it comes to, again, the dribbling side and the possession side and how he keeps the ball and how he takes people on. He's night and day from Brennan. Brennan is way behind. That's the top right corner. You can see he's much better at Brennan than that. What obviously you can see here creatively, they're both kind of lacking. They're both kind of poor creatively, albeit Tel's actually more creative than Brennan. He's got a much higher expected assists and shot creating actions, and he actually performs much better crosses and passes into the penalty area. Albeit when it comes to key passes and things like that, chances created, they're both quite low. Defensively, Brennan's a lot better. I think you can see there that bottom left corner, the blue is a lot stronger there. So Brennan performs a lot better defensively. So maybe he does what Ange tells him to do a lot more. But maybe that will go up when Tel plays under Ange. What's quite interesting with the shooting is Tel takes more shots, but Brennan obviously gets in a lot better goal scoring positions. We know he gets in the back post. We know he's good at those back post finishes and the shots across the face of goal from the right hand side, and that's evident there with his much higher expected goals and much higher expected goals per shot as well. Brennan's way ahead. So Tel will take more shots and maybe will look more dangerous, but maybe Brennan's more effective in those areas. Maybe that's something for Tel to work on.
Yeah, definitely. And I do think when you're judging Brennan and Tel, I feel like you'll see that Tel maybe makes more impact in games in terms of, you know, you'll see him a lot more in the game. Like Brennan can go missing a lot, but then turn up with a goal, where Brennan might be maybe a bit more effective, just getting more of those contributions. Yeah,
I think so as well. And I think, maybe we know wingers in an Ange system, the role they're asked to do, and once Tels gets used to that, maybe we'll see him popping up at the back post more and doing those kind of things, which I think he'll be great at because he's physically very, very strong. So once we get those ball in the box, he's going to be hard to stop. Looking at him up against Timo, so where Timo seems to definitely have the upper hand against him is kind of the creative side. He has better key passes, better expected assists, progressive passes, things like that. That bottom right hand side, he's kind of better. He seems to be ahead of Tel on the stats anyway, when creatively, which we know Timo does set up quite a few chances, to be fair to him. When it comes to carrying the ball, Timo is a bit ahead of Tel, but when it comes to kind of like take-ons and dribbling, Tel was way ahead of Timo. Timo's obviously not the best dribbler. When it comes to shooting and goal scoring, Tel's way ahead of Timo on that kind of top left-hand side. We can see Timo, we know, doesn't get too many shots off.
Timo's a great dribbler when you ask him to dribble it out of play.
Yeah, he's very good at dribbling out of play into space, but when there's a player there, he kind of struggles. And one thing Tel, again, is better than Timo is defensively, it seems, on that bottom left-hand side. Timo seems to block more passes, but all the other stuff, Tel seems a bit ahead of him when it comes to tackles and things like that. Tel seems to be able to win a few more than Timo, which is something that I think Ange has been frustrated with Timo with, that hard work off the ball. He doesn't seem to be his forte. He's not the best presser, Timo. So I think that's something that Tel seems to have over him.
Yeah, and with Timo and that pressing off the ball, it seems to be getting worse and worse as the weeks progress. That's the most frustrating thing is. So, I mean, that's another reason as well why I think Timo will probably be taken out of the European squad, because as much as I thought he was a lot better pressing maybe last season than he is this season.
Yeah, I think so as well. This season just hasn't really seemed to be there. One I thought I'd do comparison is Odebear. Obviously, Odebear's not really played much this season, but comparing him maybe when he was at Burnley last season to Tel when he was there last season. Actually, their profile not too dissimilarly, especially with the dribbling. They're quite similar on the top. So Odebear, in fact, is better than Tel in some aspects when it comes to the dribbling, but their profile very similar kind of from a dribbling aspect, where Tel is way better than Odebear is obviously the shooting and the goal scoring. Obviously, we know Odebear still got a lot of work to do when it comes to that aspect and being effective in the final third, getting shots off and things like that. But Odebear is better than Tel when it comes to the creative side of the game and creating chances on that bottom right-hand side. You can see it's a bit more blue. So Odebear is much better creating chances than Tel is. And defensively, it's kind of even. They're kind of there's some stuff that Odebear does better, but some stuff that Tel does better as well. So quite evenly distributed there defensively. But actually, they don't profile too dissimilarly. Basically, they're both similar dribblers. Just Odebear is more likely to create chances, and Tel's more likely to score goals. That's kind of the difference there.
Maybe they work well together.
Yeah, maybe. Odebear setting up Tel, I wouldn't be surprised.
I mean, they've done it all through their youth ranks with France, so why not on the pitch at Tottenham Hotspur?
Definitely. And one other one I thought it would be interesting to see is, because there was one winger that I think we all wanted last summer who we all thought was all think would be perfect for Ange, and that's Pedro Neto. And I thought I'd do a little comparison between Tel and Neto. Neto this season, that is, to Tel last season, and
he's not been that impressive.
He hasn't really, and the stats say, look, Tel has been much better with his dribbling than Neto's been. Which last season, Neto was brilliant at dribbling, but Tel seems to be ahead of him this season with that ability. The goals with the shooting as well, he gets off a lot more shots than Neto. Defensively, does a lot more defensive work than Neto as well. What Neto does have over him is, key passes and expected assists seems similar as well. So Neto's still a bit more creative than Tel. But on the other aspects, dribbling, shooting, and defensively, Tel could even be a better fit than Neto potentially.
That is very interesting, because I thought this is Neto at Chelsea though. Maybe it'd be more interesting to do the Neto at Wolves, because I think Neto at Wolves was doing a lot more things that would maybe fit the Ange system than maybe what he's doing at Chelsea. Yeah,
but you would have thought it's a better comparison, because Chelsea probably play more similar to us than Wolves would have done last season.
Also true. Maybe not in recent weeks.
Maybe not in recent weeks, yeah. That's also fair. But I think it's very interesting. I think it's a lot to be excited about. I think when you can see how he profiles compared to our other wingers, I think definitely has things that we're missing and adds something different to the front line. Definitely the big thing he has to improve on is that creativity and setting up chances, because that's lacking, and that seems to be lacking against all the wingers apart from maybe Brennan in that we have. So if he can improve that, then there'll be no stopping him. But when it comes to a winger who's got brilliant dribbling ability, who can put in some defensive work, who can get those goals as well, I mean, he's someone who's really going to add something to the forward line.
Absolutely. And, big task ahead of him. He's coming at the most important time of our season. Liverpool on Thursday, which he is eligible to play for, I believe, and then Villa in the Cup on the weekend. So if he can just hit the ground running on Thursday, grab us a goal or something, put us 1-0 ahead, then hit the ground running, and the season is his oyster pretty much.
Definitely, and there's a lot to be excited about. I just can't wait to see him on the pitch and see him in that Tottenham shirt. And maybe he can have an unbelievable debut. Let's see.
Number 11 he got,
Number
by the
11.
way. So, yeah, very much excited to see him. I do think he starts on Thursday. Do you think he starts
so.
on the wing or in the 9?
I reckon he might start him on the right.
You reckon?
I reckon he might go for him on the right. Kind of throw a bit of a curveball because he doesn't play often on the right, so maybe Liverpool won't know how to deal with him in a way, wouldn't have planned for it. And obviously Richarlison is playing in the 9 at the moment. Son is in such good form, don't want to leave him out. And I think also gives us a way to get Decky back in the middle.
I think he's going to start him in the 9. I think Decky will be on the right, Son on the left, and bring Bergvall back in the midfield in the 10. That's what I think he's going to do. But all will be revealed on Thursday, and that is your deep dive into Mathys Tel. Let us know your thoughts on him in the comment section below. Let us know how excited you are to see him in his debut on Thursday, because whether he starts or whether he doesn't, he'll definitely get some minutes on the pitch, that's for sure. And we're going to finish the stream on the January performance tier list. So as you know, we take our player ratings on average and put them into a tier list. And the way it works, I'm just trying to get the thresholds. Give me 1 second. So it's 0 to 4.9 in awful, 5 to 5.9 in not good, 6 to 6.4 in okay, 6.5 to 6.9 in good, 7 to 7.4 in very good, and 7.5 plus in excellent. Obviously, it's not been a very good month for Tottenham Hotspur in this January. How many wins was it in January?
How many wins?
Only
Brentford and
Brentford was this February.
Oh yeah, so you got the 2 Europa games and Liverpool.
Tamworth as well.
And Tamworth.
Yeah. So
we won 4 of our 8 games in January.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games.
Was it 7?
Yeah, because you must be taking into account the Brentford game.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Newcastle.
Was
that not in Jan?
Oh, it was. Yeah, I didn't see that game.
Newcastle.
Yeah, Newcastle. Yeah, 8 games, 4 wins.
4
no
losses.
wins in the Premier League though.
No, 4 losses in the Premier League. Yeah.
4 losses in the Premier League, 4 wins in Europa League, FA Cup, and Carabao. So yeah, a bit of a mix and match month. We'll see how we go. But who have we got coming up first?
He sent it to us.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Let me see.
Sam.
All right. So up first is Timo Werner.
Oh dear. Timo. He only played against we gave him ratings for Newcastle, Liverpool in the Cup, and We haven't seen him since Tamworth. I think he's been injured since then.
So 3 games. He was terrible against Tamworth, I remember. I think he's had a shocking month, so I think he's going to go into awful.
Do you reckon he's actually injured? Do you reckon there's something there?
No, I don't know. Hope so.
Because Tamworth, he was so bad, and he just hasn't been seen since then. He didn't even come off injured. I don't know. Anyway, he is 3.8.
Yeah, awful.
3.8. 3 against Newcastle, 6 in the Cup against Liverpool, and another 3.
3.8 actually might be our lowest rating ever. 3.8.
3.8 is very low. It's very low. He's not been good this month in the games. Obviously, Tamworth was a new low for him, playing up front and just been struggling up front against a non-league side, missing even chances at that level was a new low. So yeah, awful, straight into awful. I think it might be a bit of a brutal month here.
Yeah, as they have been. Next up is Ben Davis. Obviously, he came back from injury against Everton. He's played 90 minutes in Everton, Hoffenheim, Leicester, and Elfsborg. I think, apart from Everton, he's had a fairly good month, hasn't he?
5.6.
Really? Not good. I thought he would have been better than that.
Well, he did give him 2 7s, but also got a 5 against Leicester and a 4 against Everton.
Maybe that Brentford game is clouding my judgment, because I gave him a 9 against Brentford.
Yeah, if Brentford was included, it would be a bit higher, but because that's out of it, he gets a 5.6, unfortunately, for old Benny. Obviously, the Everton was a bit of a shocker, to be fair. But yeah, it's a bit harsh, but Leicester wasn't great as well, so that's what he gets, 5.6.
Radu Dragusin, he played his part in every game. 90 minutes in every game apart from 45 against Newcastle, 45 against Everton, and 20 against Elfsborg, obviously, where he got injured. I think it was a very up and down month from Radu, to be fair. He had some good games, some horrible games. I would say maybe he goes into not good as well.
Yeah, more down than up, unfortunately. 5.2.
Yeah.
But he did get a 9 out of 10 against Liverpool, probably saving him from an awful. So that's why he gets a 5.2. Did get a 2 out of 10 against Everton.
2.
Which was, again, a bit of a shocker. So there you go. Dragoshin, 5.2 overall.
Romero didn't play a minute in this month, so he goes into can't judge. Dane Scarlett, first inclusion of a tier list this season. He came on against Elfsborg, got a goal, 25 minutes. He got 12 minutes. Oh, 12. Brentford doesn't count. So, I mean, he goes into can't judge, but I just want to give a big up to Dane Scarlett because, you know, he's had a hard loan spell in and out of the team at Oxford. He came back, golden assist against Elfsborg, and really helped us go and win that game.
Definitely. Obviously, maybe the signing of Tel won't probably help him get more minutes, but I think he did himself proud in that Elfsborg game, and maybe we'll see him a bit more until Solanke comes back.
Pape Mathys Tel up next. 62 minutes against Newcastle. Suspended against Liverpool. 68 against Tamworth. 45 against Arsenal. 73 against Everton. No minutes against Hoffenheim. 54 against Leicester. And 90 against Elfsborg. I think he's had a pretty poor month, to be honest, and I think he's going to go into awful.
4.3.
Yeah.
And brutal for Pape Tel. Not a good month at all, as you say. He got a 6 against Newcastle and a 6 against Elfsborg. All the others have been 3s and 4s and 2s. He got a 2 out of 10 against Everton away. So awful for Pape Tel, unfortunately.
Next up is Jed Spence, 90 minutes from Newcastle to Everton. So Newcastle, Liverpool, Tamworth, Arsenal and Everton. And then he's been injured since then. Came back against Brentford, obviously, which he doesn't get judged on here. But I think he could be our player of the month, to be fair, or definitely close to it. So I'm going to say he goes into maybe good.
6.9.
Yeah, he goes
just
into
about
good.
misses.
Misses very good.
Well, I gave him a 7 and you gave him a 6.8. So you were too harsh on Jed. Old Jeddy boy.
By 0.1.
0.1.
Wow.
So he goes into good, and I think that's representative. He's had a good month. What let him down was Everton away, got a 6 out of 10. Arsenal away, and Newcastle at home. He struggled a bit in that game as well. The other ones, he got 9s and 7s and 8s. So
very good from Jed Spence. I mean, he's just been
unfortunate not to be in very good. Yeah,
he's just been one of the players that have come out of this period with a lot of credit in the bank. Next up is Decky. You know, Decky, you know, bless his soul, Decky. He works so hard for the team, but I feel like his performance level has just been decreasing throughout the season just because of how much we've had to play him, and he's played his part in every game. He had to play half an hour at Tamworth, come on for extra time. He had to play 45 at Elfsborg to come on and help us win that game. Apart from that, he's played 90 minutes in every game. I would say he probably still goes into okay or good.
He goes 5.9.
Really not good. Wow, that's his worst month then, by far.
Yeah, unfortunately. Played a lot, but he never got below really a 5. A few 6s in there, 1 7, 2 7s I can see came on against Hammer scored, but unfortunately just wasn't a great month for Decky. He didn't really. I'm trying to look at the good games he might have had. I think not many, to be honest. I'm looking at the games. They just didn't really have. Even the Liverpool at home, he wasn't great in that game.
He's been knackered.
Yeah, it's not been
I keep banging on about it. Like, this guy needs a break. This guy needs a break.
I think a lot of it as well, playing on the right-hand side pretty much the whole month. Not helped.
Well, I think it's also just the energy levels.
That's also not helped.
Next up is Brennan Johnson. Obviously, he's been injured most of the month, but played 90 at Newcastle, 47 at Liverpool, 120 against Tamworth, and 45 against Arsenal. And I think he's been pretty bad in all of them. Scored 1 goal against Tamworth, but I mean, probably goes into awful.
4.4?
Yeah.
4.4. Not
Makes
great.
Sense.
Not great for Brendan. Oh, yeah, that was the only goal he scored. Then he's now picked up an injury, but he's been very lacklustre, I think, this month, Brendan.
And Dom Solanke's up next, and he's pretty much done the same as Brendan Johnson in terms of minutes. You know, played 90 against Newcastle, got a goal, 90 against Liverpool, got an assist, 50 against Tamworth, 90 against Arsenal. I think 2 good games, 2 poor games. So I'll probably say maybe he sneaks into good, but probably okay.
5.9.
5.9. Oh, he goes into not good as well.
Just.
Wow.
He got a 7 and an 8 and 2 4s. So it's unfortunate. Tamworth, he came on and just wasn't great. Then Arsenal got bullied a bit and they got injured. So it's unfortunate for him. Maybe a bit harsh, but not good.
We forgot to say Vicario. He goes into can't judge.
Yeah, Vicario's obviously can't judge.
And also Fraser Forster also goes into can't judge.
Correct.
Mickey van der Ven, I mean, he goes into can't judge as well, but he did
play
have
45.
45 against Elfsborg. What did we give him?
8.
An 8.
Yeah. So we both gave him an 8.
He goes into excellent, but I mean, he's played 45 in the Europa League game against Elfsborg. I mean, can you really judge him compared to the rest of the squad on that?
Probably not. It was a great 45 minutes.
It was a great 45 minutes, but yeah, I think we should put him in can't judge.
All right, can't judge.
Next up is Destiny. He goes into can't judge as well.
Yeah.
After that is Pedro Porro. He's played pretty much every minute. Every minute, literally, he's played in January. And I think there's been some good performances, some poor performances. He's been one of the better performers probably, but I would still say he probably goes into not good.
5.6.
5.6, yeah, not good.
Yeah, he got an 8 against. Sorry, he got an 8 against Newcastle, an 8 against Liverpool, and then a 5 Tamworth, 4 Arsenal, 2 against Everton, then a 7 against Hoffenheim, 4 against Leicester, and a 7 against Elfsborg. So he's had some really good games and also some really poor games as well. So that's unfortunate for him. But 5.6, not good.
His recent form is saving him as well because he's had a couple of good games recently.
Yeah, against Hoffenheim and Elfsborg.
Next up is... Did we put Destiny? No, Destiny goes into... Next is James Maddison. Maddison was half an hour against Newcastle, suspended against Liverpool, 90 minutes against Tamworth, half a game against Everton, 90 minutes against... Sorry, half a game against Arsenal, 90 minutes against Everton, and 89 minutes against Hoffenheim, which, you know, Hoffenheim, he was man of the match, brilliant performance, goal and assist. Apart from that, has he had other good performances? I don't think so.
Newcastle was decent off the bench, but 5.8.
Yeah, not good.
5.8. It's very bottom heavy, this tier list, isn't it?
This is damning.
5.8.
It's absolutely damning.
Yeah, as you say, Newcastle was all right against Tamworth, half decent. Hoffenheim, brilliant, but really poor against Everton, Arsenal, and didn't give him another rating apart from that.
So next up is Rodrigo. He had 15 minutes against Liverpool, then was injured for 3 games after that. 90 against Hoffenheim, 90 against Leicester, 45 against Elfsborg. And I think he played fairly well in Hoffenheim, Leicester and Elfsborg. So I think he'd probably be one of the higher ones here. I'm going to try and be positive and say he goes into okay.
He 6.5.
Oh, he goes into good.
6.5.
Wow, we got someone into good finally.
Him and Spence together. Which is good stuff. And I think he has had a good month. I think he's one of the few who's consistently kept up some standards this month.
Yeah.
Obviously hasn't been overplayed. He's been injured a lot and hasn't had to play every game. So it's no surprise he's maybe been one of the fresher players.
Sonny next. He's played his part in every game. Half an hour against Newcastle, 70 minutes against Liverpool, half an hour against Tamworth where he got an assist, 78 minutes against Arsenal where he got a goal, 90 minutes against Everton, 80 minutes against Hoffenheim where he got 2 goals, 90 minutes against Leicester, 45 minutes against Elfsborg. Obviously, that Hoffenheim game, the Elfsborg game, he was just unplayable in that first half. Brilliant performance. Good performance against Hoffenheim as well. I'm going to say okay.
6.1.
Yeah, okay.
6.1. 3 goals this month. Definitely the performances later in the month saved him from maybe not good because the performances before that were a bit lackluster. But I actually think there are signs of Sonny really looking sharp again, especially against Elfsborg, where they just couldn't touch him, it seemed. And that was a really fantastic game. And obviously 2 goals away at Hoffenheim. So let's hope Sonny can continue this form.
Brandon Austin, first time that we're going to put him into a ranking as well. Newcastle and Hoffenheim. And I think he performed really well.
And Elfsborg as well.
And Elfsborg. So I think he performed really well in all those games. So I think he's going to go into either good or very good even.
I think you're right. 7.
Very good.
7.0.
Don't tell me Brandon Austin is our player of the month.
No spoilers.
Brandon Austin. Unbelievable. Big up to you, Brandon.
Big up, Brandon. Come on. Yeah, he's had a great month. 8 against Newcastle, 7 against Hoffenheim, and a 6 against Elfsborg. He had very little to do in that game, but it's been really good. It's been good. Can't really complain with Brandon. Every game has come in and done well.
Yeah. And next up is Wilson Odobert. He goes into can't judge. He hasn't played a minute. After that is Ajayi. So he's going to go into can't judge. He did have, I don't know how many minutes it was, like 10 minutes at the end at Elfsborg. Got a goal. Brilliant goal. And I give him a lot of credit for it, but unfortunately he doesn't play enough minutes to go into the tier.
Can't judge, unfortunately, but well played to him for getting his first Spurs goal, and deserves a lot of praise for that.
Yves Bissouma up next. Half an hour against Newcastle, 90 Liverpool, 120 against Tamworth, half a game against Arsenal, and then it was injured up until the Elfsborg game where he played 45 minutes. And I actually think he's had a poor game against Arsenal. But apart from that, I mean, he was good against Tamworth. He was good against Liverpool, I believe. I can't remember his performance against Newcastle, but he came on against Elfsborg and did well. So maybe he might sneak into good,
6.5.
Yeah, just about sneaks into good.
To be fair, he got a 3 out of 10 against Arsenal, but the others, he got 8 against Liverpool, 7 against Newcastle, 8 against Liverpool, 7 against Tamworth, and a 7 against Elfsborg. So apart from the Arsenal game, maybe that maybe cost him a very good, because he had quite a good month apart from that. So that's a shame, but fair play to Yves, because I think he's actually had a pretty good month.
Yeah, next up is Lucas Bergvall. He's played a hell of a lot of minutes in this month. So he's played 90 minutes in every game apart from Newcastle, where he played an hour, Tamworth, where he played 53 minutes. He's played 90 minutes in every other game. And I think he's going to go into very good. I'm hoping he's going to go into very good.
6.9.
Just sneaks into good. I mean, I think he should go into very good. 6.9. Just for the sheer effort that he's put in this month as well.
Well, you've given him 4 sixes in a row.
Oh, have I?
So that's probably just because before that you gave him an 8 against Newcastle, a 10 against Liverpool, 7 against Tamworth, and an 8 against Arsenal, and then 6 against Everton, 6 against Hoffenheim, 6 against Leicester, and a 6 against Elfsborg. So that's a shame, but
he has been tiring towards the end of the month.
I think that's also true. So 6.9, but he definitely has been good, and it's been a really good month from him. So I think he's really come into his own this month and shown what he's all about. So he's really become. This is the month he became like a proper, player in the squad and a part of the team, I think.
Yeah. Kinsky, first time we're putting him in the tier list as well. Obviously, he came in just after the Newcastle game. He played every game apart from Hoffenheim and Elfsborg because he's not eligible for the Europa League. I think he'll probably go into good or very good as well.
6.6
to good.
10 against Liverpool, 7 against Tamworth, then a 5 against Arsenal, 7 away at Everton, and a 5 against Leicester. So 2 5s there, unfortunately, for maybe some of the mistakes he's made. But yeah, we're saying Brandon's had a better month.
Yeah, madness. Just probably because of the minutes, to be fair. But Mikey Moore next. Mikey played against Tamworth. He played 70 minutes.
Quite a few, yeah.
Everton, he played 20 minutes. Hoffenheim, 35 minutes. Leicester, 37 minutes. Elfsborg, 90 minutes. Good performance against Elfsborg. A couple of good cameos against Hoffenheim and Everton. I'll probably say maybe sneaks into good, but probably an okay.
6.7.
Oh, yeah, he's on the upper end of good then.
6.7.
Big up to Mikey.
Yeah, really good cameo against Everton, helped change the game. Got his goal against Elfsborg as well. You gave him an 8 out of 10 for that one. So yeah, didn't get below a 6 actually this month. So pretty good month for Mikey Moore. Good return to action.
Richarlison, he came back to fitness from the Arsenal game, played the last 15 minutes. 45 against Everton, 56 against Hoffenheim, 54 against Leicester, and 80 minutes against Elfsborg. Don't think his level of performance has been that great, but he has got 2 goals. I'm going to say okay, or maybe even not good.
Yeah, it's a bit harsh, but 5.7.
I don't think it is that harsh. I just don't think he's been that good.
Got a couple of goals. I think Arsenal, he was all right.
I mean,
Everton.
those
decent.
goals kind of mask over his performance, though. I don't think his performance has been that good.
But we've needed it. We've needed those goals, you know. We needed.
100%.
He's added a bit to the front line.
But this is a performance tier list, and he hasn't performed that well.
There you go, 5.7.
And last but not least,
So not good. Yeah.
is Archie Gray. Archie Gray has played like every minute, hasn't he? Where is Archie on my list here? Archie Gray. Yeah, he's played every single minute of this month. Just
Crazy.
churning out 90 minutes after 90 minutes, even 120 minutes in there. Surely he goes into very good.
6.4.
Oh, really? He goes into okay. That is doing him a disservice. We've done Archie Gray a proper disservice here.
Well, he got a 3 out of 10 against Everton, which
Yeah.
is fair. But the other ones, to be fair, he got a 9 against Liverpool, 7 against Newcastle, 6 against Tamworth, 7 against Arsenal, 7 against Hoffenheim, 6 against Leicester, and a 7 against Wolfsburg. So that 3 out of 10 really hurting him, unfortunately, Archie. Sorry about that. But that 3 against Everton cost you probably a good, I would say.
Yeah.
So he only missed a good by 0.1. So he only goes into okay, which, yeah, I think is harsh.
All right, we've got one more actually. Is Sergio Reguilon.
Yeah, Reguilon.
Sometimes he is the forgotten man at Tottenham Hotspur. But Sergio Reguilon, how many games did he play this month?
3.
3. Which games were that?
Newcastle.
Leicester, and Tamworth. Yeah, I'll probably say he goes into okay.
6.2.
6.2. Yeah, okay.
6.2. There you go.
So there you have it. That is your performance tier list for the month of January. Brandon Austin is your player of the month.
Incredible.
So big up to you, Brandon. And I think this is very telling, right? Because last few months, Fraser Forster and Brandon Austin have been our player of the month.
And before that, it was Van der
Mickey
Ven.
every month.
Did Spence win it 1 month? I can't remember, but maybe it was up there. But yeah, I think that probably goes to show where we're at as a team at the moment. And you can see the tier list. Look how many are in not good and awful, and even Kyle Judge as well tells its story as well. So that's just the reality. But but big up to the players in good: Mikey Moore, Kinsky, Bergval, Bentancur, Spence, and Basuma.
Yeah,
big
they're
up to
our
them.
best players, and I think Archie Gray is a bit harsh to go into okay. To be fair.
I think he should at least be in good.
I think we should bump up Archie Gray 1 to good.
Yeah, him being on the same level as Reguilon is a bit criminal.
Yeah.
So there's that. Yeah, not goods and awfuls. So who's awfuls? Brennan, Werner, and Sarr.
Yeah, it makes sense to be honest because
Just not
neither
been a
of
good
them have been
month.
good. Yeah, I mean I think it's a fair list. I do think it's a fair list and quite representative of how they've been this.
I think
this
so.
month.
So how many players are not good and awful? There's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 players in this month have either been not good or awful.
Let's hope in a month's time then we'll be very top heavy with some big games coming up.
More players in not good and awful than okay and good.
Yeah. Well, that is it. That is it from us today. That is your January review, January tier list, and a deep dive into Mathys Tel. Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. But thank you, everyone, for joining us today. We're back tomorrow to preview the big game on Thursday night. And like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.